Welcome back to the show. When I mentioned the word finances, I know you're feeling some stress, some anxiety, but our next guest is going to help relieve some of that stress and some of that anxiety. I am joined by Simeon Papailias. He is a financial expert and president and co-founder of REC Canada. Welcome to the show, Simeon. And are you hearing that from clients quite a bit these days? I imagine a lot of stress and anxiety around people's financial future at the moment.
Good afternoon, Ottawa. Good afternoon, Derek. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Thank you for having me. I think the very common theme right now is fear and anxiety. Unfortunately, because of the current environment in all the news covering the inflation going up, the interest rates on mortgages going up, it does have a lot of people very worried.
All right, well, let's dive into it further, because I think one of the biggest concerns is, okay, you know what? We've seen it during the pandemic, by the way. You know, people are saving, right? They're squirreling away their money, but people want to save for the long term, but they also want to enjoy today. Can it still be done? A lot of people are asking themselves.
So it can absolutely be done. And what we have to understand is that no matter what anyone says, Canada itself, as a people, as a blend of people, is a very conservative and hardworking country. The thing we have to instill in the next generation is very simply to prioritize their actual spending habits, to be able to write down, budget, and be able to set goals of what needs to happen and when. So if you're 18 years old, you need to start saving. And I'm going to speak to how to kind of cut up your income in how long it takes for you to put a plan together.
Okay.
But what we have done through the pandemic as in a generation is we are savers, we are extremely conservative, and it will take us through this hard period over the next year or so.
All right, well, let's talk about that strategy you just mentioned. Some people think of that strategy as the third, but you and I were speaking earlier, and you like to break it down in a 50-30-20. Expand on that for me.
We do. So this is a very, very popular strategy. It's been around for decades. It was instilled in me years ago. 50% of your income needs to service your actual needs.
Okay.
Your housing, your car, your insurance, your bicycle, for that matter, if your income is not enough to support a vehicle at the time, and if you live downtown. But 50% of your income needs to service your needs. 30% of your income can service your wants. And that's where you prioritize. So if the wants are to have a gym membership at a fancy club versus a vacation overseas versus saving for university, whatever your circumstances may be, that is the section that you work within. Lastly, and more important, than any of the others, is your future. 20% must be saved for your future and its goals and its priorities. You start with a beautiful plan, you set your priorities, and put it into one of the categories.
Simeon, we've heard, many times people saying to themselves, I don't have enough money to do all of those things. What do you say to people who use that, or may even find themselves that's in a realistic position that they find themselves? What's the answer to that?
I can speak to myself. It took me the last 22 years. When I graduated from Ryerson, I was 22 years old, which is now Toronto Polytechnic. When I graduated and I got into the workforce, I had to create my own plan. And your plan at 22 and your plan at 42 are two different plans. At the time, my priority was to cover my rent every month.
Right.
At the time, my vacation would be going to Ottawa for a weekend. So it doesn't have to be a $10,000 vacation to Europe. That might be my plan now. But at the time, it was a single weekend for a music festival in Ottawa, which I had to save $900 for, which took me 3 months to save.
Gotcha. Simeon, when it comes to planning for the future, you and I touched on this off camera. Is people that have their RSPs and are looking at it now, I mean, it's not time to panic, right? I mean, that's really considered a long-term investment.
So I consider RSPs, I consider stocks and equities, and I consider real estate, all anything that has to do with long time over growth over time has to be viewed with objectivity, with patience, and with the long term in mind. The
Right.
reason we put our RSPs is to use them after we're retired. So if our plan was to use them after we're 65 and we are 45 or 50 or 35, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
To go and look at your RSP like something you can day trade
Could,
is a mistake,
couldn't agree
and
more.
you
So,
should
sorry, I have
consult
to
a
let you go. We'll
professional.
be right back after this.